you have to be patient with riding the hype train. It's only been a couple of games so far, and while he has shown up, there's still plenty of matches left to be played. So if he can continue this performance, then his name as King T will be solidified. But for now, we'll have still some reservations.
We'll definitely have to wait and see if he can live up to that title. And we do see an early Orianna ban here against Kuzan. Showing a lot of respect there. Elise definitely makes sense. And also the Rumble ban against Smeb. We see that very often here in LCK.
Especially after the MVP performances that he put up against none other than MVP, actually. Yeah. So, understandably so. And triple jungle ban. However, Umti has been one of those players that, while he has shined on Lee Sin and Elise, off the back of the Jarvan pick in the jungle that no one else was really able to put to find much success with, he was able to do so, even though it was a loss against Longju. The early game was completely under his control. And in the third matchup, the Graves, a pick that we criticize for over-prioritization by a lot of these teams, but he made it work, and he did have Galio to help him out.
Yeah, but the 6 and 13 Graves
exactly.
Not doing too well.
Oh no. Not the Galio.
Well, what do you think about the Thresh ban instead? Because Mata has been popping off on that Thresh. He gets to the mid lane at exactly the right time. He's given a lot of room to roam around the map. His death sentences have been godly. So maybe they're saying, okay, we'll target Mata a little bit. You can have Galio, but we just want to make sure that Mata doesn't have his Thresh.
It slows down KT. Right now, the meta favors those all-in supports. That's why we see Blitzcrank. That's why we see the Threshes being so popular. And when you take that away from him, you're tempting Mata. Are you going to play Thresh or Blitzcrank or maybe even the Braum in that bottom lane? And while this Kindred is hovered, we just want to touch on real quickly that while Kindred's most likely not going to see any play, it is 7.11. And this patch did see some tweaks to a couple of champions. The Rek'Sai one that you don't expect to see very much. And Kindred, you might be seeing it with combination of Galio. However, it's just so unlikely to play these champions that rely on the RNG of your camp spawning with the right marks, that you can get these advantages. And sure, if Kindred gets 10 stacks, and she's going to be godly, but that's a pipe dream in a competitive match.
Yep, very true. And we do see both of these junglers kind of trolling a bit with the Rek'Sai, the Kindred, the newly buffed jungle picks, or I don't know what you would call Rek'Sai right now. I think he's in a very weird spot.
Back in the dumpster. The utility of her ultimate no longer there, and now you can simply sidestep it, which is saddening to see.
Yeah, well, we do see Score pick up the Graves and a Varus pick to follow up there for Deft, and Kuzan going to be going on to that Victor. We've been seeing a lot more Victor these days. Very good against the Galio. You can just sit there and push back against the high pushing potential of that Galio pick in the mid lane.
And the Victor has seen some priority because the Orianna has been so heavily targeted. Pawn was vocal how he thinks that Talia, Orianna, and even Victor are some of the most broken champions in the game, but Talia is one of the more utilities. Orianna, while she does find the balance of utility and damage, that's why you see her be so heavily targeted. However, she is susceptible to being misplayed. With the Orianna ball, we've seen shockwaves miss left, right, and center, whereas you have a champion like Victor who, even if he gets caught out, just press all your buttons at once. Chaos Storm persists, you have your lasers, and it's enough to make a difference in the fight, whereas Orianna, if she dies right away, there is no value.
Definitely what separates a good Victor or a great Victor from a mediocre Victor is the gravitic field. You know, when you can put that down, can you get the stun down? And also, can you stay alive for long enough in the fight to do that consistent, sustained damage?
And it stalls out the game to the point where Caitlyn is going to be a major threat when you have such a heavy amount of wave clear between 3 champions already that are likely to be designated to the mid lane throughout certain points of the game. We can expect Victor to be swapping to the side lanes to pick up farm, similar to the way that Crown plays Victor, as I imagine that most players look up to Crown as to how to play this champion. And when you have such a late game scaling composition, you're banking on a 40-minute win where you have those itemizations that can easily melt through the tank line that is going to be that Galio diving into your front line. But so far, KT's early game is going to be the thing to watch out for, while Jin Air is putting all their eggs in that late game chicken.
Yeah. Look at what they did. They banned 2 supports against Mata, the Brand, and the Zyra. 2 aggressive supports, 2 high damage supports. And then they picked Tom Kench anyway. They're like, okay, we just want to keep everybody safe against anything that Mata can do. And we'll see if that works out for them. As you said, just playing for that late game. We'll see the response here from KT.
The Lulu means that this engage is going to be that much more devastating. When you have Galio flying in, gets the knockup up, and if he hits a target in range, then you have the wild growth to combo it. A Yasuo would be amazing here, but obviously you're never going to see that champion go through. It is going to be instead the Renekton, and I think KT is going through the exact same game plan which they attempted against MVP last time when they had the Rumble in their hands. Push lane top, push lane mid lane, and then you have the Graves invading the jungle, and it's impossible to answer back onto this Graves when you have to consider the heroic entrance always flying through it. If this Fiora pick does get committed to, that is just an all-out late-game composition from Jin Air, and just full-on protection onto this mid-lane turret. Herald is going to be the most important objective in this matchup. If KT can get their hands on this and crack that mid-tier 1 sooner rather than later, then we might just see an explosive Jin Air going straight down a crashing plane. Looking for a better word on that one.
Yeah, well, there you have it. And yeah, I'm glad that you point that out. The Rift Heralds, these teams have been focusing it more and more. I feel like every single game we see, teams begin to figure out the importance of it. It's so good for taking the tier 1, especially in mid, and just opening up the map for your team and putting on that pressure.
It's just a game-winning objective early on. Not only can you expect to at least get 1 turret off it, but if the enemy is to make a mistake to trying to defend it, oversteps, you find a pick while that Herald is out, you can easily push for a 2nd turret, and we've seen sometimes even go up to 3 towers on 1 push, and you just don't see that advantage come out any other time post 20 minutes with Baron.
Yeah, so this is going to be an exciting game. Jin Air we used to make fun of them in the past for just being super passive and making the games go long and just trying to survive for very long. But now I feel like with the confidence in their macro play and their super late game composition, we could see kind of a Samsung-esque. You know, I don't want to call it that too early, especially they do have to prove themselves. But if they can prove it here in game 1, that's going to be really cool to see.
Yeah, but it will also be slightly disappointing for KT if they don't find a way to close this game out quickly. We did see them dismantle MVP in a rapid fashion, and they do know how to do this. They've done so last split all the time before, so I expect them to come out with a vengeance this time around.
Look at that Victor skin, rather. It's pretty cool. Either way, guys, we are going to be jumping straight into game number 1. There are the compositions. Let's do it. Let's jump onto the Rift here for game number 1.
So how come in that loading screen, Gragas can have his cigar, but Graves cannot?
Well, in the spring pick and ban, they actually showed Graves with the cigar as well.
I think they brought back Graves' cigar in the end, but there's some hypocrisy there.
Maybe they forgot about it. Does he actually have it in the in-game?
I think he smokes 24/7 and is permanently drunk.
That would pretty much sum up what Gragas is, I suppose.
It's drunken fighting style. Jackie Chan had a movie about it.
Yeah. I think he's a little bit too young for that, but he has become King T here in Korea, as we said before.
Nice harass there. Trying to fight over the Raptor camp, but it doesn't seem like Smeb is going to back off from this as they found a way to ward that Raptor camp. Trying to stay out of vision. He's approaching it. We're just going for some cheeky harass. He does, however, receive some backup from Kuzan, not letting his jungler fall behind, especially when you're the Gragas. He's going to be instrumental in slowing down KT's early aggression. Finding a pick onto any member of KT, especially Score, will mean that the early game stalls out by probably about a couple of minutes, and that's every kill that Jin Air can get. Adds more minutes to the timer and puts them in a better position to come back and have that fighting chance late stage.
It was a really sick ward that spotted actually going towards the blue. So Score knows exactly where he is right now, that he is doing that blue, and he's going to try to pressure in here. puts down this ward, and you can see that Umti is going to stick around for the smite fight. Can he actually get it here? It looks like he will.
What a godly smite from Umti. He is facing a taunt here.
A kingly smite, you could say. And it looks like he's definitely going to get away. Kuzan's going to come over here, and the collapse from the bot lane. Now the bot lane's fighting. This game is getting insane. Look at that Devour onto the trap there by Snowflower. Mata's going to flash away. Snowflower going in for the kill. Picks up first blood. And even going to force the flash at a pawn to escape out of this one. And they're not done yet. That's a second kill going over to Jin Air. That one will go to Kuzan.
That was such an awesome interaction there. Everybody wants to defend their jungler. They know how important this matchup is to this game. And because the wave was pushed in from KT, the duo lane from Jin Air can collapse faster. They intercept the duo lane. They find a way to kill Mata. And now that so many summoners are down, the aggression will have to be diminished. And this is a great start from Jin Air.
Yeah, that was really fantastic. Just beginning with the smite fight win from Umti. Look at this timing. That is perfect.
And that just saves everything, because Score would have hit level 3 on that and would have had mana for this fight. And now the Victor collapses. Meanwhile, the duo lane is fighting, but we're going to cut on live to a replay where they're going for a red buff steal.
Yeah, they're going for a red buff steal. I love the Devour onto the trap here. And Snowflower coming in for the flash kill.
The flash Lickitung. And here, just the commitment. They see that they have the range. You call out your cooldowns. Can you flash forward? Yes, we can. Yeah, that was great. That was a great level 1, or a great reaction from Jin Air. The communication necessary to scout that play and respond accordingly to support your shining star so far, which has been Umti, is what makes me excited for Jin Air, which is an understanding of what their win conditions are, how their compositions can utilize those win conditions to succeed. But we might see a gank onto Kuzan, who has no flash.
No flash. He does have the cleanse, but you're not getting away with this one. There it is, trying to lay down his stun, but it just does not matter. Perhaps just a little bit too aggressive in the lane with his flash down. That's an easy pickup on that kill for KT.
Stone face pawn, knew it was coming, mile away, but bit of a misplay there from Kuzan. Not sure why he committed to burning that cleanse, and that might come back to bite him in the ass, as a repeat gank would be in order with Galio being capable of closing the gap from far away. And if a taunt connects and Graves is there, then we might see a snowball beginning from the mid lane.
Getting a pretty cool look at this top lane. You can see that it's very even so far. Sohan looks to be about 3 CS ahead. It's going back and forth. Both of them picked up the Doran shield, so I suppose it is just trading at this point, even though they're both pretty aggressive champions.
It's trading, but the kill pressure will be going towards KT's way, as Renekton's always has the ability to dash out of danger and choose when to pick his fights, whereas Fiora, her commitment is not so easy to back out of. If you go in, you're likely to not be able to get out, at least early on, without early CDR. And take a look at the vision on the red side for KT. They have a control ward deep inside the jungle of Jin Air, which will hinder a lot of the gank attempts into this top side of the map. And this is what we saw from them last time around. You can expect this move to happen, and the routing that Score is about to take speaks to doing just that. He already has his completed warding jungle item, and after doing Wolves and the Gromp, a trip to the top side would result in extensive vision, and Umti's gank paths are going to just be read like a book all over. And as soon as he shows in vision, look at what Score does. He's responding right away, looking for it, and there's heroic entrance, and this is going to be a 3-man dive onto Sohan that he has to respect.
They should know this is coming, and you could see immediately Sohan backs up. I mean, Pawn, he didn't hide it at all. He kind of just walked towards top, straight in vision of Kuzan, so they were calling that one a mile away, but still, just even that small amount of pressure, they don't have to commit it to anything, and already Sohan not going to have too good of a time up in top lane. He's going to miss a full wave.
Yeah, he uses his teleport, and that's going to be another control ward going down in the red side jungle for KT. And this means that this red side belongs to KT. And while the map is trying to be split, the opportunities of ganking Varus and Lulu with a Tahm Kench Caitlyn are minimal. And so the map early on, while the kills did get evened out in that early exchange, you have to give the advantage to KT for the way they're playing their composition out to the advantages that they acquired from the draft.
You see that someone came down here, I think it was Umti, and put a couple of really deep wards into the red side, so they know exactly where score is right now, doing this red buff.
It's the result of the early game being, or of the map being split in the top side. However, Umti will find the control wards and likely will find the second one as well. Oh, no, he's just slamming over. Good control ward, though. Usually you never check those places for such aggressive control wards, and look at that. Straight on the number of the blue buff. They had the time when it went down as they saw it die, so they knew exactly the cooldown of it. And Victor without blue buff means that pressure in the mid lane is going to go Pawn's way even more so than normal. Oh, there's a teleport on Smeb.
Oh, here we go. This could be a 5-man down in here. There's the TP, the Chain of Corruption. Teddy, he's trying to get a kill. The heroic entrance from the mid lane from Pawn. That's going to be an easy couple of kills down in the bot lane and should be the first blood turret.
And great moves there from KT. They saw that Umti was in the top side. He slammed over a wall. They knew that there was no chance of a counter gang, so taking this dive was an easy peasy. They just did it because they knew there was no chance of a response from Jinair. Even Gragas was not in an opportunity to claim anything else in response, and so they're able to walk away with that first brick. And while there is a Cloud Dragon, they don't care about that. They are able to shut down the main carry for Jinair in the late game.
Look at this, just execution. Getting on top of Teddy is the duo lane of KT, and from behind, Pawn, Smeb, and Score going to easily clean up the big frog.
They could have done it without burning the teleport from Smeb, but
yeah,
you have the failsafe, and now the emphasis is going to be on Sohwon. What can he do with the teleport advantage? However, Fiora's TP is nowhere near as impactful as a Renekton's early on, especially for a tower dive. She's not strong enough to tank the turret nearly as much, or... Here we go.
Oh boy, Teddy, he's getting really frisky here up against Score. He has Snowflower, but a TP this time from Pawn. And Snowflower in way too much trouble going to go down here. Now Teddy's still on the run. Pawn, he does have his flash, but not going to commit.
And this playstyle is exactly why Jinair was banning out that Thresh. If Thresh were in their hands, this would have been happening way more often. However, even with the Lulu, they're capable of utilizing the Galio, of utilizing the double teleports that they have, and just completely throw Jinair off guard. Their commitment to the late game is not working at all, as KT is putting the pedal to the metal and not slowing down.
Yeah, now with the Rift Herald just spawning here, they have total vision control of the entire top side of the map. They could just push mid, or they could try to go for a Rift Herald and then go for the push mid. We'll see what they do want to do. We're looking at a Graves here for Score that's 3-0-2, so you can definitely easily take that out by himself with the jungle item. He's going to have the help of Deft, and you were talking about the most important objective on the map. There it is. Doesn't look like there's any pressure here from Jinair.
And even if there were to be, they know exactly what's coming their way. There's a plethora of vision between control wards, green wards, and pushing power in the mid lane. There is no chance of contesting this Herald, and Umti's just left wondering where he can affect these lanes. They don't have any kill pressure everywhere. Renekton, with Flash, with his dominance, is capable of playing safe against a Fiora for probably another 20 minutes or so until she starts getting some serious items under her belt.
This is looking like the KT that we saw in spring that would go really aggressive and just take the early game and totally roll their opponents extremely cleanly. And I mean, Jinair right now, they're having so much trouble dealing with any of the pressure. They had a nice early game, but that was about it.
I will say, I hate the fact that you didn't ban Galio. I think it's been enough time to know exactly what the meta is. Herald is so important right now. Pressure in the mid lane has been the name of the game for years now, and now that you can actually have, oh, here's Galio with heroic entrance as well. She can't even turn onto this.
Well, at least Sohwon gets away.
Now that you have Galio, which fits the meta perfectly for just pushing mid lane and helping out your jungle, helping out every side of the map without a huge commitment, whereas before the only real similarity was maybe a Galio or a Shen before. Now Galio not only wins his lane, but also has that Shen. Imagine if Shen were to push every single lane and win. That was Shen's weakness. Yeah. That is what people abused Shen with. Imagine if you couldn't abuse Shen, how broken would he be? Well, put him in the mid lane, turn him into a fancy suit. You have Galio, and this is the result. KT did it. Even Jinair did it in their victory against Longzhu. So a bit of a lack of foresight.
An oversight, perhaps, by Jenner. I mean, you were talking about it before the games even started. You're like, okay, this is going to be the focus pick, Galio. Teams are beginning to figure out just how OP he is, but not only that, both of these teams pick him and play him really well. So I would have to agree with you. I think after seeing this game even, perhaps let Mata have the Thresh and ban away the Galio might have given you a better chance, better shot early on in this game.
However, it's not over. The Dragons are not the optimal for snowballing a game out of control and starting off with a Cloud Dragon, and they do have that late game power, so it's going to depend on KT if they can keep playing this aggressively. They have been doing so far, so with the first 13 minutes, if we can apply that level of play to the next minutes, however it may be that this game can take, then we can expect them to close out this game, but they have to play it cleanly. A poor dive somewhere will result in Jenner having a chance. Yeah,
and Kuzan on this Victor still has some incredible wave clearing power. So, I mean, if you just sit here and you wait maybe 20 minutes, if they're given that time, they definitely can come back in this game. You can see the Rift Herald just does a bit of damage to that mid-tier 1, but it didn't kill it.
And they've cracked mid lane turret to the point where it's almost destroyed, as you mentioned, but the way they're going to try to finish this one out is going to be acquire vision in the closest lane, which right now is that tier 2 in the bottom lane, and if they can deny as much vision as possible from Jenner and then rotate whenever Jenner try to answer for the tier 2, quickly move back to the mid lane and either threaten the dive or perhaps take the turret if there's nobody there to respond, it'll be the window they have and they're looking for to take down this mid-tier turret. Because if they get mid-tier 1, if they do so, that within the next 6 minutes or so, they can start thinking about Baron as a real possibility to accelerate the game to a point where Jenner will struggle more than we have seen to stall out.
Yeah, you can really get a sense of how quickly KT is trying to push this one in by, we're sitting at 14 minutes and the Baron is really, really far away, and they're already almost, they've already almost taken 3 of these turrets, so doing pretty well so far, and they actually catch So-On here getting knocked up a couple of times. We'll see the Flash Devour from Snowflower.
Bit unnecessary there. Yeah. There was a Blast Cone, then Graves had burned his end of the line and Galio all his cooldown, so only collateral damage. Even that one wasn't available, so maybe a bit of nerves there.
Extra safety, perhaps.
A little too safe there. It's like wearing double seat belts. One is enough.
Yeah. Well, we're seeing Jenner essentially just turtle up pretty hardcore. They're keeping Kuzan in the mid lane, pushing that back, making sure that they delay that tier 1 from going down for as long as possible. They're throwing So-On into whatever long lane that they have and Teddy into the other one and just saying, okay, well, everybody that's in this game playing with us and also watching this game knows the objective of our team. But we still have to play to that here.
And look at the quirky itemization coming out from Story. Rushes the Rapid Cannon on Graves. We usually don't see that build. Oftentimes we'll see either a Phantom Dancer, a Hex Drinker, maybe even a Black Cleaver. But this time around, by going that item, to me it speaks of trying to hit turrets. Obviously the champions are also long-range carries between the Victor and Caitlyn, so it will help in the team fights as well. But it also helps in a siege where the Graves can get a couple more autos than usual, as the extra range will keep him in safety from a Gragas Slam or maybe even a Cask.
That's definitely a very good point. I mean, we're going to see Graves also have that red buff too, so just getting that first hit off to put that pressure on the turrets with the red buff is really nice. You can see the crazy amount of wave clear that Jenner has. Just a couple of pushes with the Graves with red buff could push that in. Doesn't look like that's their focus for now, though.
Yeah, they are in full turtle mode, and they don't offer a lot of kill pressure, so they would need serious number advantages if they were to pick anybody off. You always have to remember that anybody that's by themselves is likely to have Galio with them as well. There's an attempt at the death, though.
Yeah, Kuzan really trying to get deft here, but score from behind. Kuzan forced to flash the collateral damage, and the ignite for Mata will be enough, and I can't help but feel that Kuzan got his team in a lot of trouble as he uses his laser to try to take out Deft. kind of an opportunistic moment, but he can't clear the wave, gets taken from behind, and that's going to be another turret going to KT.
A lack of patience there from Janair, thinking that perhaps they have a chance of going on to death, but there is always the heroic entrance to consider. So chances of him having taken down Varus by himself are none. And as such, the collapse comes through, and even though Snowflower ultied in with his Abyssal Void to try to salvage the situation, the collapse from KT was imminent. They had complete control of the red side vision, so Janair made that move without any idea as to what KT was going on. And you can take a look right here. He's going to try to get greedy. He doesn't use the laser for wave clear, and as such, decides that I'm going to have to turn, otherwise I'm going to lose a turret, but the flank is already too late. 4 members of KT are already here, 5 even, as Smeb roams from bottom into the mid lane.
You could really see the teamwork there from KT just collapsing altogether. Lulu, Mata getting there right on time to save his life. Also the heroic entrance giving him enough resistance to stay alive. Yeah, I mean, he didn't even hit the stun. He also used his cleanse to cleanse the chains of corruption, and it was just, as you said, perhaps a little bit greedy, opportunistic. Not what Janair needed in that moment.
I can see his decision to do so, because once he commits the laser to not use the wave, his only option is, do I ulti the wave? And that would have likely forced KT to look for a dive, and a dive that could not have been defended. So with the second the laser goes down, he is faced with a difficult decision. However, they make the decision much worse than it should have been, as opposed to just giving up the turret. And now KT sitting at a 6,000 gold lead that will allow them to transition to a Baron that Janair is unlikely to defend within the next couple of minutes.
Next dragon is going to be another Cloud Drake. So, as you said, the Drakes aren't getting out of hand for KT. Not really going to allow them to snowball it super heavily. If it was 2 Mountain Drakes, they could take a super easy Baron, push in the turrets quite well against this Victor Caitlyn composition. But just 2 Cloud Drakes. I suppose it'll allow them to get across the map a little bit easier and pressure some of the lanes, maybe some faster rotations, but
I believe what KT does with the Cloud Dragon is exactly the way that it should be, especially with the opening Cloud Dragon. When you see that objective, you can't commit to making a fight around that one, as the value that you get out of it is so low that if you were to lose a fight around an objective that doesn't offer much, it'll likely be a disaster. So instead, they prioritize opening up the map first, and when the map has been opened and they're clearly in the lead, then they can start going for the dragons and thinking, let's take the gamble and see what we can get out of this.
Well, we have a bit of a fight here. Chain of Corruption onto Snowflower, but he will just eat up Guzan, who is in a little bit of danger. Guzan able to get back to try to clear this wave. Doesn't do a super clean job of that, but KT committing a bit to the engage. They don't get any kills, at least.
But they do get chunk damage onto this mid lane turret, and same on this tier 2, which is low, and Smeb is in danger, but he has flash, and there's heroic entrance as well.
Sohan doing his best, trying to clear this wave as Fiora against 3 of these champions. It looks like perhaps another turret will go down. There it is, as Janair forced to give another one away. KT now about 7,000 gold ahead at this point.
That's exactly the way you want to play the map out against this heavy wave clear. They push the lane into the mid lane, then they rotate bottom in out of sight. They have control of the side that they moved in, and Janair is unable to respond quickly. They don't have the inside track onto that lane, and without vision, they have to take the longer route that is going to provide them at least some safety. As such, they don't make it to the turret in time, and the damage is already done. And now KT's thinking about Baron. Their pings are going down. They have control wards. They will first establish vision in the red side and do their due diligence is clearing out vision. However, it feels easy for them with a 7,000 gold lead this early on, and a huge lack of itemization on the side of Janair for these late game carries.
Yeah, they need about 15, 20 more minutes, but I don't think KT is going to give it to them. As, wow, they're going on to Umti here, who actually flashes but doesn't get away from the taunt. Suppose far enough away to not get blown up.
And he flashes because he doesn't have any vision. We see it, and we can see that there is no real threat. It's only a Lulu and a Galio, 2 of the lowest damage members, the 2 lowest damage members on this team, but he doesn't know where Graves is. He doesn't know if chains of corruption are coming out from the fog of war, so he has to do the respect flash.
speaking of Chains of Corruptions, we got it up here in the top. Again, it's only death. So TP is going to come in as a full-on engage underneath that turret. Immediately, 2 members of Jin Air just disappear as KT really trying to drive this one home. Picking up another 2 kills, and that'll be an easy extra turret.
And this is an enraged KT. They are not here to mess around. Just dismantling Jin Air, taking full advantage of their composition. You gave it to them a second time around. You saw exactly what they did against MVP, and they're treating Jin Air as if they were MVP.
Yeah, this has got to be really irritating here for Jin Air. They had a composition in mind, but they are just getting wiped across the floor, much in the way that MVP did against KT. KT really showing up 2 days in a row. That's going to be another inhibitor going over to KT. What's that called? The Justice Punch?
Yeah, Justice Punch.
Right on top of the trap. Jin Air actually wants to go for a counter engage. Lots of low members of KT, but they're kind of busy with Pawn up here, and we all know how long it takes to kill a Galio. Look at Pawn. He's just playing with his food right now.
He tried to TP out.
He tried to TP. Like, really?
Oh, so disrespectful.
That is some huge BM, actually. He knew 100% that he could not get out.
You know the best part? He's probably expressionless in the
Oh, yeah. He's not smiling. He's not nothing.
The man is the epitome of deadpan humor.
Are we going to get a replay? Okay, of the dive. This is pretty sick, actually.
Here comes a Justice Punch into the furthest charged taunt, and Caitlyn just gets spat out right into the mix. There's no chance that she can retaliate any damage. She's sitting at a static shiv with not even an Infinity Edge completed.
Look at how little damage she does to Score. If we could just rewind that, she attacked him twice and it barely even scratched him. And Score's not even the most tanky member on the team.
And I'm no longer giving teams the benefit of the doubt when they give away Galio. I think nobody has an answer to Galio right now. The champion's too much. It helps the lanes more than anybody could have ever predicted this ultimate doing. It's like every global on crack, plus his taunt is greater range and easier to hit than Shen. There's just,
and he has so much utility in everything that you've said, and he can just build full tank. He doesn't need any damage. He goes double Dorans, and that's it. He's got really good base damage on his abilities. He can clear the waves really easily with just a couple of Doran's rings, and then he can just be basically unkillable and offering everything that you just said. It's pretty ridiculous, and I think teams are, especially after watching this game as well, they'll just be like, okay, we need to get rid of Galio, 100%.
Look at the itemization it's forcing out of him. A Knight's Vow. He vows to never play against Galio ever again.
He was supposed to be King T, but today he's just Knight T. Poor guy.
No.
He tried to do his best early on, but now it's just, look at him going head-to-head with this Renekton for Smeb. I love Renekton in these very aggressive compositions too, like you were talking about. He's so good at just getting on top of a member of the other team. He has so much kill pressure, even in lane, if you work with your jungler. And he's also really tanky with his ultimate. You can dive turrets pretty well.
Oh, Caitlyn meets Renekton. Crocodile Dundee's coming in.
Look at the heroic entrance right on top of that. Totally zoning out Sohan and Kuzan down at the bottom. Teddy getting 2v1'd in the brush. No one saw that. And Kuzan, he's trying his best. He will have to flash the wall. And at least they delayed the Baron for about 30 seconds.
Might be Safari Caitlyn, but she's no Steve Irwin. That's the Crocodile just eliminates her.
Smeb isn't done.
All he has to do is be the bouncer for this Baron. You can't come in. Your ID is fake, Umpty.
Missile Voyage from Snowflower. Umpty, he makes it over. Sohan actually is distracting this Crocodile. Umpty, he's got an opportunity here.
He has flash.
He's very, very low. They're delaying so much damage on this. You can see that KT's getting lower and lower.
They're going to try to burst it.
Oh, the flash over the wall here from Smeb. The failed flash from Umpty as he gets burst down from the Graves. And boy, let's see if Score actually goes down with the Devour. It looks like he will. Sohan on the run. Pawn, look at how tanky he is. No one on that team can touch him right now.
That was fantastic communication out of KT. Smev saying, I got my stun, I'll flash over, can we finish it in that time? The team says, yes, we can. They do so, and they secure Baron. They don't want to take the 50-50. There's no need to do so. They know that this game is all but done.
Yeah. Well, this was a very one-sided game. I was really actually excited. You know, I was on the Jin Air hype train. I was like, oh, they're picking this really late game.
Hype plane?
Yeah, the hype plane. The Jin Air, they're doing really good. They're picking this late game composition. Maybe they can just delay the game long enough. And then KT's just like, nah. I guess tonight we do have to get excited about KT again. Although they do say never to say that. But
I need to see them without the Galio. I need to see the no Galio zone. Then we're okay. But here's the replay. The great flash from Smeb. And they burst down the Baron during that exact same time. Blow everything. And Kuzan try to steal with laser. What else can you do? A laser onto a Galio at this stage is not going to do anything. So committing for the steal is the only saving grace that Jin Air could have gone for. Now they have to think about the next game. They are going to be in the blue side. So they'll be prepared to take the Galio if KT let them have it, but I imagine that they know better by this point.
Third Cloud Drake will be skating across the map at this point.
They're in the Mile High Club after this game. They've just been all over Jin Air. That actually makes even more sense because that's something you do on the plane, and they are beating a playing team.
There you go. We have 4 members of Jin Air versus Galio. Who wins?
He's got a Gargoyle Stone Plate completed already.
I don't think you can definitively say that Jin Air would win that fight. I don't think you can.
I'm going to agree with you.
Oh, man. Well, Pawn coming over here. Help out so on. Nice riposte. And Smeb actually taking a bit of damage, so they might be able to take out the Crocodile. No, I spoke too soon. Mata in perfect position there with that wild growth. Snowflower, he's going to devour MT just for a little bit. Look at Pawn in the front, just trying to delay that body slam. He's going to go for Teddy instead. The flash in actually misses the Justice Punch. Triple kill here for Smeb. He just doesn't take damage.
Yeah,
they're just too far ahead at this point. I mean, Kuzan doesn't really have the items. They're trying.
Smeb,
no!
Just feeding. He was the 1 kill away, the 1 giveaway last time against MVP, preventing the perfect game. And while the kill score might not say so, this game was practically perfect from KT. The kills, sure, whatever. They executed their composition phenomenally, and they dismantled Jin Air in under 30 minutes.
They made that look really easily. I think, as you're saying, go ahead into game 2. Either leave Galio open for your team or ban it away. Because Jin Air will be on blue side this time, so they will have that opportunity. We might just see KT ban it out instead.
Just enough is enough. We can't see more teams giving away these champions. I think the meta has really been solidified already as to the top side and the jungle and the mid laner. You play around this side, you get that Herald. No matter how much you try to stall, Herald is your anti-stall tactic. The second you secure that objective, no longer can you bank on having a composition that can hit the late game, which is what Jin Air tried to do, and every single pick that they had was a scaling pick. Fiora, Victor, Caitlyn, Tom Kench for the later stages in the game as protection. Hell, even Gragas as a peel for all these carries, and just too much. KT exploited perfectly, and they're not even fazed by this.
It's cool you mentioned the Rift Herald again. We might see more aggressive compositions become more of the norm here. We haven't really seen too many of these teams so far go 5 picks of late game, as you were saying, and even though Jin Air, they didn't really execute it perfectly. You know, Kuzan got out of position 1 time, getting a little bit greedy. I still feel like Galio plus the aggressive composition of KT just looked unstoppable in that game. I'd love to see 2 of the, top tier teams go at it, like Samsung KT perhaps. See these 2 go and see if Samsung can actually pick a late game composition and hold off the assault.
Here's that gank after the crazy invade that we saw around level 2, but Kuzan trying to push the wave, gets overextended and burns his flash, and this was the moment where it all went downhill. A 5-man dive from KT. The 5 people, maybe not necessary, but it all was based off of vision. The deep vision they acquired in the red side jungle meant that they knew there was no chance of a return, and Jin trying to stall the map out here, gets a little greedy. Fuzan commits the laser and realizes maybe I have to all in. Immediately gets collapsed on, and that's 5 members of KT collapsing onto this turret. They had full control of the lanes, full control of this game at seemingly every moment, save for level 2.
And this was the other big dive that happened up in the top tier too. At this point, Jin they were about 8,000 gold behind, so what can you really expect? Unless they're going to totally give up their tier 2, they are going to get wiped like this.
And what I love about this dive in particular was how quickly they were to commit their summoners. As soon as Smeb sees Victor, he's just going to flash right away. They're going to combo with the Wild Growth, save no chance for any retaliation from Jin. And when you pull these dives off so quickly, it's demoralizing for you to try to make a comeback, for you to say, wow, they really just want to kill me. What did I do to them? I shake their hands after every game. What's going on?
Well, we had 3 Cloud Drakes, and it's a really windy day, actually, in Seoul at the same time, so very fitting. KT also sweeping, or rather blowing this plane out of the sky of Jin, and that's going to be a very quick, under 30-minute Game 1 victory to KT. As we said, even before the match has started, it's really going to come down to the draft phase. Jin, they've been looking like they've figured out the meta up until now, up until this game. I think they have a lot of thinking to do before Game 2 to decide, are they going to ban out the Galio? Are they going to pick it? What other picks do they have to deny? Are we going to see another Thresh ban? What other picks get through in that case? Perhaps we see an Elise pickup for KT Rolster. Stuff like that.
KT just reassessing. What do we learn from that game? Wow.
Not too much. I don't think there's too much that we can talk to the players about. But either way, guys, we are going to go into game number 2.